Women at the Forefront is the segment we are running with right now. And I love this particular segment because it is all about empowering the next generation of younger women. And today I am more than pleased to be having engineers in the house, and to be specific, female engineers in the house. And they will be talking about their triumphs and trials as female engineers in the country. Allow me to introduce them. On my far right, we have Engineer Barbara A. Athoch, and she is a professional engineer and the CEO, Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Vivian.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And then right next to Engineer Barbara, we have Engineer Faith Mutoko, who's also a professional engineer and is the manager, Registration and Licensing Services Engineers Board of Kenya. I love that you have titles, you know, being in this male-dominated field. I don't know if it's still as male-dominated. It is. Yes, it is. Being in this male-dominated field, but you hold such positions, you know, senior positions. I believe that for you to get to that point, you had to really, you know, work to get to that point. I want us to begin with just getting to understand how you got into this field. Was there a particular moment that made you want to get into engineering, or did it just happen? Did you do it for your parents? How did you get into that for someone who's watching and this is the field they are looking to get into? Let me begin with you, Barbara.
Okay, it's a good question. I know most of the time, most engineers will say that they are into science and mathematics, and that is true, because when you're thinking about the career, it's a very core. Those are very core subjects. For me, I would say that it was more of the during the period where we were supposed to choose our courses, because during that period. We didn't have much sensitization on what engineering was. So all we knew is if you're very smart, then you should be a doctor. Unfortunately, medicine is a very competitive field. So when I was not able to get into the medical field, then engineering was the AI of that time. We were just coming up into construction, was buzzing, and it was the very good. It was quite a good choice, looking at it and also looking at a broader picture. I love taking trajectories where you are able to make impact. So I would say for me that was what drove me towards this field. And a couple of years later, I would say it was a good choice. Yes.
Nice. How did you get into it?
Thank you. My case was, you know, in high school, you're just thinking about you need to score A's and you don't know where you're taking them. Then I remember there was a time, my school, we used to have career programs where you would have I think it used to be universities, students, and sometimes the leadership, they would come to a school and talk about different career options. And I remember for me the moment was, there was one of the local universities, it's a public university, they came to talk about engineering. So basically talking about a lot of other courses, but the one that stood out was engineering, because the person who was actually talking about was a lady. So for me, I was like, I think that was the moment for me that I was like, because basically I was just looking, I really didn't consider myself going into medicine, because I needed something that is a little bit introverted career. I don't know why that's a criteria. So I needed something that you're a little bit quiet, but you still get to do something. So I think when she came, like, this a lady.
I feel that you wouldn't have to interact with people so much.
Without really saying that, but that's the career. This is something that is a bit quiet, but also interesting. So I think for me, that's what, and also the fact that the person talking about was actually a lady. It was the first time I actually saw a lady talking about it.
So for you, you didn't have any, you know, male, female engineers while growing up. You didn't have any female engineers around you that you got to look at.
Interesting. Looking at it, no, I didn't.
At all.
They're not as. For me, it was just that moment, and it was because the school organized it. But when you go back to the society, I don't think we have many of them actually.
And you know, just from what you said, just seeing her there sparked something in you.
Of course, it kind of clicked, because I was looking for something. Before, I used to know about some engineering program, especially the ones that are I've been there for a while, but then I needed something that is, because I know medicine, you have to always be interacting with and I was like, so I was
because in between I need to pass my examinations, but
Yeah.
then where do I take it?
Yeah.
And then before I think there used to be such conversations, not the first time they were talking about engineering, but just because it was being done by a lady, was like, this is something I can actually go into.
And that representation is really, really important.
Of course, when the story is told by someone that looks familiar to you, it's very different from when you hear it from a man. Okay, with all due to respect to our brothers, but then it kind of clicks different.
I think just to add on what Engineer Faith is saying, that you see, you find it relatable when you see a woman who is there. Then you say that if she's able to go through this so-called male-dominated field, and she's able to scale the heights of past the courses. One of the things that we had when we got into first year was, not many girls finish engineering, but if you're able to see someone who's finished the 5-year course and actually managed to set up a career, then it encourages you, because then you find it's more of a relatability instance.
Maybe just from what you said, why don't many ladies, from your point of view, tend not to finish their 5-year courses in engineering? Maybe they switch to another career path. Is there a particular reason?
I'm not sure if I can speak for them,
Okay.
but I would say that it's one of those courses that you find, first of all, it's a lot of men in class. Then when you look at it, maybe women, we tend to look at more of social courses. So when you're in maybe an electrical class, you're seeing the practicality of the tools. And when you try and look at it on an impact basis, you may not see how it, because I would try to believe that it's not about the fact that the course is hard. Of course, the course is not very, it's not, I don't want to say hard, so that I don't discourage any person who's watching this. But I would believe that women have gotten to the position that they've proved that they can do it, that we are at the same par with the males who are also taking the course. Why perhaps they don't end up finishing the course, maybe due to individual reasons. But what has been noted so far was that during the 5 years, some women would drop out of the course.
Okay. So I think maybe just 2 Wednesdays back, I had a woman who's also in construction, in the construction business, on one of the seats right here. For her, she's into the business of selling timber. That's her line of work. And she mentioned that her being in that kind of field whereby it's quite male dominated actually worked in her favor. Instead of it coming with so many challenges, for her, she said it worked better because she would always stand out and therefore get more business. So would you say that it has worked the same for you, or has it been harder for you being in that kind of space where it's really male dominated?
I think the challenges are different at different levels, because you find one of the reasons the barrier starts is when you find the girl doesn't even know what is engineering, so she doesn't join. At that point, I don't think it works in her favor, because she's kind of completely left out of the chain. But then if she's able to get in and grow, there's a level where it's kind of it's a little bit favorable, but then you really have to work to get there. So the challenge might not be that women are not standing out, but then the issue is not even at the top, because how you'll find she's already on the other side of it, she's gone through the process and she's already established. But the challenge is the support that women really need, especially in the engineering sector, is basically from the even primary school level or through high school, you bringing her through even to joining the market, because that is also one of the challenge from the data, maybe from the Engineers Board of Kenya. You notice that initially it used to be low, but it's still not high. The number of girls who are joining engineering programs, it used to be as low as even 10%, but now over the last 10 years, I think it's grown up to 25% on average.
Good progress.
But then you also find that is still, they make approximately 50% of the population. So when you're looking at it in terms of the actual representation, it's still a little bit low. So it tells you there are issues
before she even gets all the way to being in the entrepreneur side of it.
Yeah.
And then now maybe you also notice they also tend to prefer the schools that are within Nairobi. Interestingly, you find the public universities within Nairobi have a higher rate, like 30%. So that was really telling you something about locality.
Yeah.
Then now when it comes to them joining the market, you also know there's a little bit of attrition there. So we can't really say it works in their favor. There's still a little work that needs to be done before you even go to the other side where you're standing out, because the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. But then there's that phase where you can call it the teething process, where a lot of effort needs to go, because I'm sure if she was to tell you even joining the market might not have been easy, establishing herself in the market might not be easy. But then I think there's a point where you go over the other side of the curve and it gets easier. But then I think promoting that narrative might not be very general, especially to the girls who are coming into engineering. Yeah.
Your point of view?
Just to build on what engineer is saying, when we were just getting into studio, there was a show that was going on, and I believe some of the pointers that were put out is that we have a gender commission. So I think looking at it also with the issues of this affirmative action, that has promoted the idea that women are now being enabled to stand out, because now you have to put some markers. Did you give 30% of your contracts to the minority groups where women fall? So perhaps that is what I would say is making her stand out. But as engineer says, still there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. How can it be made more supportive for women?
I think we need more women mentors, if we can have more women, and that goes as far back as primary school, because also part of the programs we usually do, recently we've started going to high schools, and one of the things that stands out is, normally in Kenya, students tend to choose their courses around Form 2. That's where they tend to kind of choose into what they go up to KCSE. Then it was noted, beside some of the big schools, you find most of the local schools, they tend to encourage two science subjects. And what happens there is you find physics is the one that gets dropped. And sometimes it's not even about the ability. There's the ability to be able to do it, but there's also the attitude where someone will come into it thinking, me, I'm not good at physics. And they've already made up their mind. So it's not like, I'm not good, I'll try it. No, the attitude is, I'm not good, and that is it. So there's that issue, because now you find, by the time this kid will go through high school, knowing that I will do engineering, only for them to feel that they're like, physics was mandatory. So that window is kind of closing a little bit. And also the attitude towards mathematics, especially for the girl child. And it's not even about whether she can or she can't. A little bit is more about the attitude. It's like there's a little bit of, I don't know if it's imposter syndrome, where you feel like your intellectual abilities might not be that you feel like you may not have as much potential as you actually got. So that is also an issue. And then it's a little bit personalized, because it's like trying to convince this girl, you know what, you can do mathematics, you can do physics, and you don't have to drop it. It's not so hard. So there is that mentorship that needs to start that early. And also now coming into the market, so even joining university, so that chain will be able to at least help them go to the university. At the university level, I think you can also talk to them. You try to have a little bit of industry connections, so to them to know, I'm doing engineering and this is how it links. That can also be able to speak into what engineer was saying. You will be more motivated to finish and seek a job if you know, I can link my theory of structures to a natural job in the market, and this is what I'll be able to do when I get there. So there's also, when they join the market, also we need a little bit of more career opportunities, because also there's a little bit of attrition there. If they leave university, they have all these degrees and they're not able to get a job, chances are they may go into another field, which sometimes is good or bad, depending on the person. Then now, once they join the market, you also need to work on leadership. Like, how do you grow beyond just the entry level to now the position where you're able to go into decision making? Because you'll notice the numbers because you have the lowest categories, graduate engineers, there we tend to find higher numbers of women and also the percentage. But as you go up the other categories of professional engineer, consulting engineer, and even the women who have engineering consulting firm, which is the entrepreneur side of it, you find the numbers tend to be going lower as you go. So it also tells you there is a little bit of need for mentorship around leadership, around being able to go into entrepreneurship, and the skills that now go along with that.
Yeah, what changes would you say you've seen over the years, specifically when it comes to, you know, women entering in the engineering space? Are there changes that are loud that you can point out?
Looking at it over the years, perhaps this issue of mentorship and also this issue, I would like to touch on the issue of imposter syndrome.
Yes, please.
Because I said that you're looking at your capacity in terms of intellect, and when you're young, or when you go to high school or even uni, you assume that these courses are not for you, these science courses are not for you. So you already have the mentality that that engineering or a STEM space is more for the male, and you as a woman, you're just there renting it temporarily. Of course, these are systemic issues that tend to stay with you, and if you grow up continuously with them, then it's very hard to remove them. So perhaps that's one of the things that I can say has since changed, because there's a lot of conversation that these courses are also for you. It's not that the socials are just for the women, and then also the sciences are for the men. So that's one of the changes that I've seen has worked. There's also more deliberate action that has been done to encourage women not only to take up these courses, but also now you have job adverts that females are encouraged to apply. You know, when you see that, then automatically as a woman, you would tend to apply, and courtesy of that, it's absorbing more women in the workforce. What I just wanted to build on is, yes, there's something that has been done, but what else can be done? We are talking about mentorship, but we need women up there who are then able to come back and mentor this. That means that we need to create spaces. Is it a work-life balance? But now we are calling it work-life integration, that are able to ensure these women stay in the workforce. Because when you get into the workforce and then you start seeing things that are coming out as gender biases, or the idea that you're excluded from certain events because you're a woman, automatically you would say, I have the capacity to handle this job, but since I'm not feeling my worth, then you tend to leave that job and then go to somewhere else, and then that is where the attrition is now starting to come in. But if you are able to keep these women in the workspace, which I've seen, there's more effort trying to ensure that they stay in the workspace, then we are able to have these mentors who then in turn come back and show the young girls that they can do this.
Yeah, and even speaking about that, maybe, are there policies or workplace practices that you would say, if this happens, if these policies are put in place, and even in matters of workplaces and the practices around the workplaces, if this and that are put in place, then we can be able to have women engineers thriving?
So I'll try and take a bit of that, and then I'll let engineer try on it. Yes, there are, because of course we have these core hours where we are working, but you understand as a woman, at the end of the day when you're working, still there are some household chores that still sort of fall back to you. Looking at things to do with childcare. So of course, yes, if you have an employer who recognizes that 8 to 5 is your working period, but if you need to have some childcare time, you've been called for an emergency. You know, most of the mentality we also have is that when someone takes some sick off, then you don't like work so much, and you then get scared to be asking for time off. But if you are able to show women that they can be mothers, then they can also still work in the office. I think those are policies that would really enable them to stay. Something as simple as we are encouraged to do this exclusive breastfeeding, but we have pumping stations in the office, that then they are able to ensure that they are able to continuously keep up with the exclusive breastfeeding for this period of time. I think those are also things that can be looked at. Looking at ideas to do with work hours. I think COVID also showed us that we don't really have to be stuck behind a desk in an office to ensure that we are able to meet our activities or objectives of KPIs. So are you able to allow her, when she's during that period when she still has a young baby, to still work, do her core duties, but still also able to attend to her motherly duties? Things like that, I think, would be able to keep the women in the field. Yeah.
Well, would you weigh in on that?
Maybe I will not add much because she's covered it mostly in the. I think mostly it's just about the work-life balance and how do we enable the woman, but also for engineering programs, I think it gets a little bit interesting because, especially in the construction industry, the location of the job also kind of. A woman is likely to think twice if you give her you give her a job that is at a certain location, because they tend to, it's like a woman, you tend to think in terms not just for yourself, but you also find there's this family that you have to think about. So if there are any policies around that that would help, maybe to just assist them a little bit. And also if and also the facility, the actual facilities, I don't think the problem will be going somewhere, but the issue is you're looking at the facilities available in that place that you're going. Practically, like are you able to, like, can your kid go to school in that location that you're going? So if we can work around that, especially in the construction industry, and also because engineering is a little bit getting also global, that ability to be able to move from one place and transition and find it comfortably. But also I think what the engineer was mentioning is that you can, beside just getting the opportunity to have that work-life balance and be able to maybe get out when you need to attend to something else, there's also the bit where she gets to do that without feeling a little bit of guilt, because I think there's that where you feel like there's a pressure, a little bit of a pressure that you feel. It's never said.
Yeah, it's a silent one.
It's a silent. So there's a little bit of that is, I think, now maybe public awareness and trying to show society these are, you know, it's like the office and work is one aspect of life, but then we also have these other aspects of lives that kind of marry into that, and recognizing that life is wholesome, that would really assist, and also showing why this person needs this kind of assistance, not like special treatment and maybe getting away without doing much, but then maybe being able to achieve productivity in a different way, and also the attitude around that.
Okay, so the goal is to make it as inclusive as possible, to
Exactly.
make the field as inclusive as possible.
Exactly.
And you mentioned that right now we are at around 25%. 25% of women in the workforce when it comes to engineering.
25% is actually at the numbers. What I was saying, basically, I was saying, we look at the numbers. On average, we have around 15%. But then that 15%, I said we have the category of graduate engineers. It's the entry level. And you find there are women who get there and they stay there for like 10 years. While it's expected, you can transition from graduate engineer to professional engineer within 3 years. So what that is telling you, it's saying that this person is stagnated at a position. They are not moving up. So then now you also, that was like 10 years ago, but then you notice the figures have kind of changed. It has improved. Now that's the 25 is like when you evaluate the number of women who left college last year. But then when you look at it, the whole average figure, it tends to go down because historically the numbers have not been so high. But then I think now the issue is this percentage, if you take it as a percentage and we assume it's conclusive, then we are missing out on the aspect of where are they located in the workforce? Are you in a decision-making position, or you're part of the group, so you're not able even to influence? Because I think it makes a big difference where a woman is actually present when at the table, where the decision-making table. She will bring a perspective that maybe, I don't think we got here because someone sat down and decided that we are going to leave out women. It's just maybe because the perspective was missed out because she was not at the table, and or even if she was at the table, there were not many women
to have a voice that seems is not personalized. You know, if it's one person who is always telling the story, people will say, this is just maybe her personal goal. But if the other woman comes that she's from another walk of life and then she's also trying to bring forward these issues, then it's like it looks a little bit more objective. The numbers matter, but I think progress has been made. My interest, I think we still need a little bit of the leadership positions there.
Are you seeing it in the near future whereby we have maybe that 50-50%? Are you seeing it anywhere in the near future? Is it something that is there a light at the end of the tunnel?
Optimistically, I think it's very possible because we have really, in the last 10 years as a country, even not just within the engineering sector, I think there's a lot of progress that has been done, affirmative actions where you find girls are given opportunities. So if that is sustainable, I feel we can get there because it's not a lack of ability. It's just maybe just a lack of opportunity to be able to get into the field and prove yourself.
Okay. I would also say I'm optimistic, but I hope that this will happen because yes, I know we've belabored on this word affirmative action for a bit, but I think the only way we will get there is if they are deliberate. Very deliberate actions that would ensure we get there. If you look at it in the senior management in the engineering field, we're actually not very, we don't accommodate as many women as corporate leadership, and I think that's something we could consider that needs to change. So yes, we want to say, again, I'll go back to the 30%. So if 30% of your employees are women and they're all interns, then you're still not making a difference.
Of course.
We really need to bring them on board.
All right, so maybe what excites you most about the future of engineering generally, or if you want to put that woman side of it in there also, it's fine. But what is exciting you right now in that field?
Okay, so we do, as part of the Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya, we have the Future Leaders Wing where we do a lot of mentorship. And when we go to, we do STEM in terms of outreach to the schools, and every time we go there, we see that there's now a big buzz around students who are in engineering schools, and they're very excited about the idea of engineering. I think if I compare it to the fact that, like I said, when I was in high school, this is something I didn't see. So I think it means that already we are making some progress. So for me, that is exciting. And I really hope I get to see these girls coming back to the field and being engineers and joining us probably,
Nice. What is exciting in engineering?
I think nowadays, when you look at, especially the kids who are leaving college, there's a little bit of, I think maybe because we are living in the information era, where they are a little bit way more informed. So you find they're also moving a little bit away from the employment mentality to creating opportunities. And I think that is an exciting opportunity for me. I think we'll move away from the attitude where I have to leave and go get a job and everything. And I think because these are persons who are also doing innovation and they've also been through the system, I'm hoping they'll be able to embrace the policies that are actually more supportive of women, and they're also way more open-minded. I'm not saying the previous generations we are not as open-minded, but you find them that they don't mind this thing about work-life balance. It's a little bit easier for them because I know guys who have left college and they just work from home. So the person is able, if they have kids, they are able to go pick the kid from. So I think the attitude there and the fact that they are willing to innovate, because when you innovate, you kind of can influence the rules of the game in a positive way. So I think that can be a good thing.
All right.
And I just want to add something else, the idea of leadership. Because again at ASEC we had the first female president who was there for the past 2 years. If you look at our membership, currently we have only 4 female consulting engineers as part of our membership. And if you look at a membership of 121, and then we were able to have that one as a female president. So I think these are very positive areas to look forward to.
All right. As we finalize on the conversation, maybe what would be your parting shot specifically to a young woman watching, and this is the field they would love to pursue? Maybe they're in the university already pursuing it. What would be your parting shot to them? Either of you can start.
Okay, thank you. I think I would encourage the girls. Actually, it's doable. And it's not, I would also encourage them to embrace the attitude towards mathematics and physics. It's not about, you don't need to go in knowing it. It's basically, it's a learned skills. No one goes to school knowing it. And I also encourage them that the future is bright. The opportunities are there for girls. There's so much being done locally, and also there's also nowadays we are kind of embracing the global perspective, so you can work from anywhere, and you can also be able, I think basically the opportunities are there in engineering.
All right. Thank you. Engineer Barbara?
For mine, I would say that get your mentors and get them early, and then it takes a village. Don't forget that. So don't think that all this is on your shoulder. It really does, and the village is a support system from home. It can be a support system also from work. Look for people who've been there, who've done it, because then they'll show you that it can be done.
All right.
Yes.
It was a pleasure hosting you on this show. Thank you for just sharing your the information you have concerning engineering, and I'm sure that you've been able to encourage a young woman out there who's looking to get into this field. So that is all the time we had today for Good Morning Kenya. My guests today were Engineer Barbara Adoch, who's CEO, Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya. We also had Engineer Faith Mutuko, who is the Manager, Registration and Licensing Services Engineers Board of Kenya, and both of them are professional engineers. So for a young lady who's watching us and that's the field you're looking to get into, it can be done. This is where we end it. My name is Vivian Degwa. Thank you for watching.